You may not like it, but Umar is right. Oh my goodness. So Dr. Umar Johnson has been getting a serious amount of flack and backlash for his position on reparations. Now, after hearing Umar talk about reparations on the Breakfast Club recently, on other podcast interviews, I have to say I have to agree with him. Now, before you throw your tomatoes, you have to understand that first and foremost, Umar is for reparations, as I am, okay? As I am, very much so. Now, having said that, everything I'm going to talk about in regards to Umar's position on this, you have to keep that in mind. In the back of your head, you have to understand you're pro-reparations. All this has to do really is with preparation work, okay? That's what it has to deal with, right? It's like having how he explains it is going to war. And essentially, that's what you're doing. And in order to go to war, you have to have an army, and the army has to be trained, all right? If this is, 300, you want to have Spartans and not, blacksmiths. That's what you need to understand. Now, one of the main positions that I seem to, a lot of people seem to be giving him flack for is the position of internal reparations, right? He talks about this, and he's 100% correct.
We are entitled to reparations. We will get it. But let us be clear something. Money isn't going to fix many of the problems that we have. That if you don't change the way we think before we get reparations, if you don't build an infrastructure for African people before we get reparations, you change nothing else about African people.
Hear me out. What he is referring to is the trauma and the disenfranchisement and the division within the community. There is no code. Everyone wants to talk about being on code. Now we get this, this nebulous term of being on code and a vague understanding of what that could mean and what that looks like, but there is no written code. All right? Now, there is actually a written code, but I don't think this is the same code that many people reference today. And what he means by that is that once you get the money, there is nothing you can funnel it into. All right. For those, I used to think that, hey, there's enough black people that we can build these institutions and, do these things. And here's the thing. Those black people are already doing that, right? Those that are in the community and putting in work, they're already putting in work. And as we can see, it's not enough. This has to be a group effort. This also goes into another point that he talks about. It's like with reparations, everybody's talking about for me. You need to understand this is for the group. This is very much for the group. You want the group to do well. You want the group to be empowered.
In addition to that, I think many Africans in America right now think that reparations is for them. Reparations is not for you. Reparations is for an entire people. Reparations are for those of us who lived in the past, those of us are living now, and those of us who will be living in the future. I haven't heard a single person in any of the reparations panels that I've seen or heard about. I haven't heard a single person speak to what percentage of the restitution package should be put in trust for future generations of African children.
You as an individual are as powerful as the group you are within. If your group is broke, guess what? Your network is broke. If your group is not doing well, guess what? That's going to limit, the amount of contacts and individuals you come across. And as we can see, especially as you climb the ladder, not a lot of black people are represented, especially not black men. That's once again also goes back into slavery and as far as how black people have been targeted. But what he talks about is once again, many people, if they were to fall in some money, they wouldn't know what to do with it. Those are just facts. Because you also have to understand is that, hey, you may have an idea, I'm going to buy this property. I'm going to invest in this. I want to create this business. But all of that has pitfalls. And there's already people in those industries who are wolves. They are anticipating a sucker. They are anticipating that at the end of the day, there are bad people out there. There are. And, if you know anything about this country and its relationship that it has with black Americans, you best believe the wolves are going to be on the prowl. And I don't know, do you have a realtor that you can really trust? right? Do you have someone? Do you have a network of people that you can trust with your money? So what he's talking about is that, yo, we got to be on point. All of this, every leading up to reparations, we should be networking. We should be building and working together. One thing that I've always thought about is, our ancestors. I'm like, yo, how did they do all this? And I thought about it. I'm reading up on everything. And the thing is, there was an enemy. There was a united front against an enemy, okay? There was no ambiguity, okay? When it said white water fountain, black water fountain, there was no ambiguity. Well, which water fountain do I go to? You use that one, or you're gonna be hanging and swinging from a tree. It was simple as that. You don't get to go here, you go over there. It was simple as that, or you swinging from a tree. You don't get to study here, you study there. It was simple as that, or you're hanging from a tree. There was no ambiguity. There was no cryptic message. They were very much black and white. They're very, hey, this is what it is. Now, there was no exceptional Negro syndrome, right? Because, yeah, despite you may be, talk well, you may dress nice, it doesn't matter, bruh. It didn't matter. You were just like everyone else. And now, along with that, it had its benefits. Obviously, it had its negatives, but it had its benefits of unity. So because you couldn't drink from that water fountain just like the Harvard grad, can drink from the water fountain, you now had a common cause, okay? You now had a common cause, and you built from that. You built your own banks. We built, your own grocery stores. You built your own water fountains. You built your own roads. You built your own infrastructure. That all went the way of the dinosaur when segregation ended, through the Civil Rights Act. And now it became integration. And our sense of identity was lost. And you have to think about it. If you weren't doing anything right now, okay, if the community isn't really making things happen right now, then what is really going to change? Do you think money is just, okay, now we're all going to work together and, focus on a goal? That's not how that works. And that's what Umar is saying. You need to be getting in the headspace right now. You only get one shot at this. And knowing the country and its relation with Black Americans, I'm sure they're going to do everything and anything in their power to undermine this from happening. And if it were to happen, if it does happen, you're going to best believe you're going to have to dot your I's and cross your T's. And one thing I'm thinking of, who do we have that's in our corner? In positions of power, right? In government, in Congress, who do we really have that is on our team, that isn't bought out by another group in this country? I don't know. I can't think of not one individual, not one, to be honest with you, that wouldn't cower, that wouldn't bend the knee, or that isn't bought out and represents another group of people. Another point that he talks about, and I think it's held in extreme contention within the community, is that he doesn't believe in cash payments.
A cash payout for reparations is a trap. And the reason a cash payout for reparations is a trap is because so much of what needs to be fixed in American society for African people will take more than cash to do it. And on top of that, the minute they give you the payment, they can reduce the value of the payment through inflation. So I can flood the economy with money so the 233 is only worth 120 in about 24 hours.
And the reason why, he says, if there is cash payment, it should be at the bottom of the list. And thinking about this, I get what he's saying because he's talking about inflation. But another bigger point that he talks about is that, the U.S. dollar is backed by nothing. It means nothing. It's paper money. So he's saying because of what happened from slavery, the benefits to this country are permanent. They're permanent. Okay, there is no taking back. What our ancestors created and built. There's no taking back any of it. It's permanent, and so are the benefits. And in response to those permanent benefits, he believes, and I agree with him, that the benefits as far as reparations should be permanent as well. And he talks about how we should have control of the music industry because that's one of the greatest, one of the greatest industries that the country benefits from financially.
Number one, control of all black music must only be done through the black community. No non-African can control our music because music is one of America's leading export industries. America makes more money off black music than almost anything else that she sells.
We should have control of the ports, certain ports in the country. Obviously, the land, every single land that was stolen from African Americans, right, from our ancestors, should be given back to us. All the inventions, we should be getting, they should be getting back to the black community, all the patents. And he talks about certain things like that that are permanent, that we would have returning income. And to be honest with you, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that, because with that money, I'm all for money, I get you. But also with that, it's not going to change our standing in the country. It's just not. And if you have no financial literacy, which is something that the country does not teach you, especially not in school, not in public school, hell, not even in private school, doesn't teach you that, what's going to happen is that money is going to go right back to the same people who gave it to you. That's what is going to happen for the majority.
In other words, I think there's white people who are praying for black people to get reparations. I'm going to say it again. I think there's white people who are praying for black people to get reparations. Why? Because we have no internal infrastructure. We have no economic cyclical network. If we got $1 trillion today for slavery, white folks will be $1 trillion richer tomorrow. Because where are you spending it? With white businesses, white restaurants, white hotels, the white airlines. You're buying homes from white realtors. So if you don't have an economic network to capture your money, it goes back to the people who gave it to you.
And then lastly, he mentions that, hey, we can't forget about everyone who had played a part in this. He, talks about Saudi Arabia. He talks about, Jewish people. He talks about other groups that took part in this. Now, one thing I do disagree with him as far as we all need to be united on this. Like Africans need to be united, Black Americans need to be united. We need to all combine together to make this happen. I don't see that happening. I don't see that being feasible or probable at all. Just simple as that. Nevertheless, I think for the majority of his points, I think he's right on that. He's absolutely right on that. Because if you think about it, the people that are thinking about institutions, you're not going to be able to do that on your own. You're going to have to, you're going to have a team. And what I would want is a team of like-minded individuals who would want to do something for the community, for the group. Because that's the whole purpose of reparations, is to elevate the group. Everyone, you're not going to go from individual to group. That mindset isn't going to shift. And this is something that Dr. Claude Anderson has talked about. He gave this plan back in 2001. He wrote Powernomics. And it is still yet to be implemented. You can't tell me that upon reparations happening in the future, that automatically people are going to start, listening to Dr. Claude Anderson and say, oh, okay, we should do this, this, and this. That's not how that works. What is happening right now is going to happen in the future unless there is a change. Unless there is a change in mindset and there is some type of push. I don't know what that push can be, but there has to be a push to change the action and the behavior. Dr. Umar also brings up is that these lawyers don't do anything for free. So if they're going to get a cut of this reparations, he sees that as them giving you a lesser amount. Because you have to look into who are going to be the advocates for this. What ties do they have? What affiliations? Are there any ulterior motives? Because you only have one shot. You have to understand you only have one shot. And upon that happening, that is going to be it. So then upon reparations happening, they're really not going to care because you're going to see, hey, this is what you all been asking for. Now you got it. And you still aren't doing anything. You guys are still broke. You guys are still at the bottom of the ladder. So there has to be a plan and a strategy in place. And it has to be implemented on a group basis. It has to be, or it's going to fail. It's going to deteriorate. It's going to go right back to square one. And that's the last thing anyone wants, or any of us want to see happening.
My questions for the reparations movement. Number one, who are the lawyers arguing this? How much are they to be paid as a result of the payout? Because most lawyers get anywhere from 25 to 45% commission on a lawsuit. Are they doing this out the good of their heart? I'm doing this purely because I love African people. I don't want no commission. Or is this a capitalistic, opportunistic scheme where they get 45% of the reparations payout?
Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. Whether or not you believe Lucas, Umar doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? All this Pan-African BS, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Cut the check. Or if you believe, hey, I'm all about cut the check, but you have to understand how to utilize that check for the benefit of the group. And if we can't do that right now, and he talks about how we're already spending $1 trillion, okay, in consumerism, if we can somehow use some of that money as a group to benefit us, then heck, when we get even more, we just funnel it into the pipelines that we've already established. We funnel it into the businesses that we've already created. We funnel it into the infrastructures that we've already, made. So it's a less of a hassle. It's a less of a, a tutorial, I guess you could say. It's a little more streamlined. Now, if you happen to disagree with this video, you're in luck, because today is disagreement day. Disagreement days are typically held Friday through Sunday. There'll be a number on screen. You call in, we duke it out. Either or. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe. That fun stuff. Till next time, guys, be amazing. Those are just facts.